Alright my friends, welcome back to the 15th video of this CSS tutorial course. We will be starting one of the most powerful CSS layout modules called Flexbox. Flexbox makes it super easy to align, distribute, and organize elements on a page without using floats or complicated arcs. Alright my friends, what is Flexbox? Flexbox, short for Flexible Box Layout, is designed to provide a more efficient way to layout, align, and distribute space among items in a container. Please note this one, items in a container. Is responsive and adapts automatically to different screen size. That means using Flexbox, it is very responsive. Responsive means that it can fit in any form of screen, either phone, mobile phones, or desktops or iPads. Flex containers versus flex items. What are the difference? When we set display flex on a parent element, it becomes a flex container. The element is sorry for that. The elements inside it are called flex items. Please note this and also note this. We said the parent is called a flex container, while the children inside it is called flex items. Now, Flexbox gives us tools to control how these items are aligned along two axes. We have the main axis, and the main axis can be either the x-axis, which is horizontal, or the y-axis, which is vertical. And the cross axis can either still be in the y-axis, which is vertical, or the x-axis, which is horizontal. We are going to see how this thing works in code. All right, my friends, so we are going to go to our code now. I'm going to create a file and call it Flexbox. This particular class is very much important because it will make your work easy while coding, while designing and laying out your website. To make it so much easy for you. Alright my friends, I'm just going to cancel out from this server and they will run this code again. So what we have here is an empty slate. So I'm just going to say dots, which is for class, and say container, which is a class of a div. So this is what we call a parent, and if I write an element inside it, is what we call children or child if it is one. But I'm going to create multiple children, and I'm going to say times, for instance, 4, because I want 4 divs. So it's going to automatically create that divs for me. And I'm just going to say box 1, box 2. Alright my friends, we have box 1, box 2, box 3, and then box 4. We are still going to do this. We're going to say 1 here, and then here should be 2. And also we are just going to still give them bx to say box, so all of them will have the same name. My friends, so they are all having two classes each, but they have unique ones that separate from each other. We have box 1, box 2, box 3, and like that. So just going to run this again. Alright, see, we have them on the box 1, box 2, box 3. So we're going to style it now using the style tag in our head elements. I'm going to say dot container, and then let me give it a border so we can see what we are doing. Border of 2 pixels, solid navy, and then we have, this is the parents of these children of box 1, box 2, and box 3. So if I say display flex, display is the, sorry, flex is not correct, display flex, the display is the property while the flex is the value. So you can see when we say display flex, you can see how they all aligned horizontally. They are all aligned horizontally, because when we say display flex, they all align horizontally. This is called the main axis, which is the x-axis. It becomes the main axis. So because this item, this parent becomes a flex container, while the children, these children becomes flex items, just as we see from this stuff here. We said when we set display flex on a parent element, it becomes a flex container. Then right here we said the elements inside it are called flex items. So right now, because the parent is set to be flex, display flex, all the children are flex items. What can we do with them? So we can use properties like align items center. We say align items, sorry, we say align items center. When you say align items center, this works this works on the cross axis. The cross axis is known as or the opposite axis. By default, let me come again. By default, when you say display flex, it is displayed horizontal. That means all the children, all the flex items are displayed horizontal. So when you say align items center, you are telling the browser, you are telling the browser to align all the children to the center of the parent element, but not in but in vertical way. Just like this. Let me give a comment here. So what this code does is that it places all the children at the center vertically. That is what this code does. But like we said from this place, we said Flexbox, which is this part of the statement. Say Flexbox gives us tools to control how these items are aligned along two axes, the main axis. We said the main axis is either an x-axis or y-axis. So, and the cross axis is either a y-axis or an x-axis. But these aligned items always align these children in the cross axis. So this is what is happening, because right now it is at the horizontal is the main axis. So this aligned items is going to work on the cross axis. If I should increase the width of the parent, remember that this only affects the children, not the parents. So if I should say the parent should have a height of, let's say, 400 pixels, or let's say 300, so 300 pixels, and then you see that the boxes, the items are aligned at the center of the element but vertically. So if we want to align this these items at the center of the page, we can then use at the center of this parent, we can then say place place items center. Sorry, not place items, but place content center. When you say place content center, this affects the main axis. This property affects the main axis, so it's going to align the content center. Let's just give the uh the boxes a wall, so they can have, let's say, border. They all have a border of, say, 2 pixels solid green, and then they can, now we used to do something like this: margin, you can say top and bottom 0, left and right, because we want spaces between each of this one, so we can say 12 pixels. We can do something like this, so you can see we have spaces between each of the elements. But because we are using flex, this will not be necessary. Rather, we say gap. You can say gap 12 pixels, and then it will give us the same thing, but not actual the same thing. I will tell you why. When we say margin 12 pixels left and right, what happens that it adds some margin to this place that is not needed, and adds some margin to this place that is also not needed. But when we say gap, it only add margins to the gap between each element, not to the outer element. If there's no element there, it does not add any gap, but only on the flex items. So right now, this horizontal is the main axis, while the vertical is the cross axis. So this works on what? The cross axis, while this works on the main axis. So let me take you further and say, let me comment on these two, if that is understood, or let me create a different one, duplicate it, and then comment on the whole of all this. You may need it later. So it's showing, it's giving me some errors. So I'm just going to take this out. So you're going to need this later. So instead of just saying display flex, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to say flex direction. I'm going to change it to column. Now, what does this thing mean? By default, it is set to row. That is why it is displaying horizontally. By default, it is row. So if it is set to row, that means row becomes the main axis. But if we change the direction of our flex to be column, this column means vertical. Because it is vertical, this vertical now becomes the main axis, not horizontal anymore. So in this part of the code that we say align item center, that places the children at the center vertically, will no longer work vertically. Rather, it will work horizontally. So if we place that code right here, you see what happened now? Instead of it to place it at this vertically, it is now placing it horizontally, because this thing always work on the cross axis, not on the main axis, because our main axis has been flipped. Our main axis is now the vertical axis. So if we say place content center, because it always work on the main axis, this stays vertically aligned. How do we know this? If I should give it a height of say 300 pixels, and then I say place content center, you see that it shifts downwards, which is vertically, because it works on the main axis, and this works on the cross axis. I hope you get that, and I hope you get that clear. And these things don't always use center. They have different values. It can be center, it can be left, it can be right. So we can say, instead of center, we can say right. You can see how it works there. You can say center. Sorry, you can't say uh, right or left when you are using align items or place contents. But the values you can apply to it, you can say end, or you can say flex start. For instance, we say place content center, which this is coming from the top to the center. If we want this thing to be here, which is the last part of the code, the last part of the container, instead of saying center, we can say end. That means it will come down to this end. If for the align item center, remember, is coming horizontally to the center. If we want to say it should be here at this end, what we should do is to say end as well. We say end, and then it is at this end. What about if we want it to be at this part? Instead of saying end, we will say flex hyphen flex hyphen starts. So we say flex hyphen start, we keep it at this end. The same thing with this one, we can say flex hyphen start, and that will start it from here as well. And then again, other property that will look in flex, we can flip these children. Instead of box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, we can say to box 4, box 3, box, like that. We can flip it. So what we need to do is to say flex. So instead of to say flex column, we'll say flex column reverse. So if we say flex column reverse, what we get is 4, 3, 2, 1. But it is at this end because everything will be reversed. So instead of flex start, this is the starting point now. We can say end, and this take us to the end. And if we say end here as well, this take us to the end. So all right, my friends, so this is what actually works. This is a little bit about flex. See you in the next class as we go more in details in Flexbox. Thank you very much.